What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fight Like Hell podcast, episode 53. We're coming to you on a Monday, March 28th, 2022, in case you're listening to us in 2047. And we have a pretty cool special guest, actually, a really fucking cool special guest. My heterosexual life mate, Austin, would you do the honors of introducing our special guest?
Yeah, we have the podfather that we like to call him, uh, Mr. Dr. Jason Piccolo. How's it going?
Good, guys. What's going on?
None. I'm just glad you're on here again.
Yeah,
I can't believe it's been 40-something episodes already.
Yeah, episode 53 we're on.
Oh, you guys are killing it, man. This is awesome.
Yeah,
So-
we're somehow hanging in there.
Somehow.
And we somehow even picked up a sponsor since then. So let me get into our official sponsor of the podcast. We have Invicta Coffee Co. as our official sponsor of the Fight Like Hell podcast. They are a coffee company out of Arizona. They give some of their proceeds for their sales towards veterans' mental health. We're really good friends with the owner of the company, Spencer from Invicta. And if you all want to go over there and save a little bit of money and get some extremely good coffee, use the promo code Fight Like Hell, all one word, and you will save some cash on some incredible coffee. So now that the promo is over, let's get back to you, Jason, since you are, excuse me, actually, Dr. Piccolo.
Oh, doctor. Doctor. You know, the only reason I got the doctor is just so someone would have to call me doctor, but doctor. It's funny as shit, man.
So why don't you, for those who
Your
might
short
not have
summary.
listened to episode, what episode was he on, Austin?
Like 15, something like that.
Okay.
Holy shit.
For those of you who may not have heard Jason's backstory, what's a quick down and dirty on your?
It was exactly 15. I was right.
Well, as I'm doing this, I'm also posting social media because we're going to get into a little bit about how we can promote these podcasts. But I like the fact that you mentioned I am a doctor, because let's get into the dirty backstory about how Jason was we can swear on here, fucked up child, kicked out the first time at 15, moved out permanently at 17, ended up failing community college, but then joined the army.
Isn't that every teenager though?
Yeah, but I actually wanted to be a soldier, and that's the thing is like, and we could talk about how I'm 49, I'm 200 and something days away from 50, and I don't blame shit on my childhood anymore. So many people do. I usually just kind of like,
on the upbringing.
And I never used to talk about my childhood. Now that I do, because maybe people could relate that you can come from the most weird, badass, fucked up, even the best life.
Oh yeah.
And you can make something of yourself, And
well, I mean,
yeah,
honestly, most of people that are super successful had a fucked up childhood.
Rob,
I have a very good childhood. So
I
I'm either not successful or an exception.
Yeah.
But look at people like we were talking about, like Gary Vee. Like, he was, born in Russia, and came over and, had a really hard upbringing. And now look at him.
I know, man. No, but that's the thing. So the down and dirty is like, I wasn't, and that's one thing I will kill the education system with, is back then, like, I was college prep. I was fairly smart in my own way. But as soon as I had some problems, boom, put me in the back of the room and they put baby in the back of the bus.
Oh, yeah.
But, you can come out of it. So I did that. I went in the Army, got out of the Army, went to college, got my degree. Then I went to the U.S. Border Patrol. During this whole time, I got commissioned and became an infantry officer. So I've been in law enforcement about 20 years, everything from a customs special agent, DOD special agent, ICE, other agencies, all sorts of shit. I got, thanks to GW, was it George W? What's Junior's name? Is it GW Bush?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to him. I got that infamous letter in the mail back in 2005. And it looked like a MoneyGram, like a fake piece of mail that said, "You've been involuntarily recalled for Operation Iraqi Freedom." And I was like, what the fuck? And I remember that night I was at someone's retirement party. And so I came home and I had a few beers in me. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I opened it up.
Is it real?
And I was first lieutenant Piccolo then. I was just about to get captain. And it's like, you've been involuntarily recalled. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So
how much time did you have left on your recall at that point?
I was an officer at the time, so it was indefinite.
Oh, okay.
Unless you resign your commission.
It's not like Rob, where he had like, how many months did you have left?
I had 3 months left, and I got recalled.
No shit. And I gotta. Well, that's the thing about it, is I did my 8 years enlisted.
Oh,
so
shit,
when I got recalled, I was fucking at Fort Benning, and they had no idea what to do with us. So they put like 90 infantry Joes under my command, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I just came in. I was working dope before this. I was the farthest thing from the military. Then we went to Camp Shelby. So I brought all these Joes down to Camp Shelby.
Hey, I've been there.
I'm sure you were.
I got recalled.
Everybody does, man. That's the second stop. And some of these people they recalled, man, I've never seen anything like it. Like, there was this one Joe, he was like a PFC, and back then, and I don't know, Rob, if it was you, but if you could pass a PT test, you automatically got promoted to the next grade. So this dude must have thought that he was going to be able to get out of it if he came in overweight. And he had to have been pushing 300-400 pounds.
Jeez.
And he stayed at PFC the whole time.
How did they allow that?
I have no idea. Well, we went to Shelby, and Shelby, man, was right in time for Hurricane Katrina. So we were there. It was like fucking the end of Predator when that place went at the end of the hurricane. But yeah, man, like, and then they just started shitting people all over. I got attached to a field artillery unit out of Wisconsin. And we went to Kuwait for a couple months, and I was lucky enough to get what am I saying? Lucky enough to get kicked off their access up to CJ Sodef, Combined Joint Special Operations Task Force, as their anti-terrorism guy, all because I took a 40-hour course. So then here I am approving like these fucking $1 million projects every day. I'm like, yeah,
I took a 40-hour course. I'm qualified.
Fuck yeah. So yeah, man, I did that, and then I've just been in the Fed for a long time, man, and been doing this Protectors podcast thing for about 3-4 years now. 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. And talking to you guys, man, and trying to get other people to do podcasts to get past that 5 episodes. You guys are like, what, 53 is awesome.
Yeah,
man.
You've been pushing that a lot, I see, lately, about
on Instagram.
podcast and how to start a podcast and how to promote a podcast and all that stuff about podcasts.
Well, the thing about podcasts too is like anybody can do it.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to, but the thing is like, you got to know your audience. I want to hear something new. I want to learn something when I listen to a podcast. And if I'm not, I just change the channel. I go to something else.
I think the biggest fear that people have is, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to, I mean, that's what me and Rob talked about when we first started. Like, what are we going to talk about for like an hour? Like, we're not that interesting. But I think the biggest success that we have found is having guests. Like, having guests is huge. And that's our favorite podcast that we do, is when we have guests like you or anybody else on, because, people know about us. They don't want to know about us. They want to know about the people we have on.
Now, I don't know. I would beg to differ on that, because let's say you learn something new. Like Rob's doing a lot of traveling lately, and you have the business. Traveling. Yeah, but there's like he buys his iPhone 13, and now it looks like he's a true bona fide travel channel.
Oh, well, that's
and a drone. But that's stuff that people want to learn about. I want to learn about that.
Oh yeah.
And I want to learn about, getting vigilant and humble up. I want to learn about that's small business right there. Small business 101. And to be successful, you guys got your first sponsor. How did you do that? You guys have a ton of awesome content to talk about. Hey, Rob's got a service dog. How did that happen? How did he get this? What kind of problems does he have with that? All sorts of different things. How do you come up with your designs? You guys have a ton of content. It's just that getting to spark it, get that catalyst to say, huh?
Right.
Because I swear, we can all just sit here and stare at each other. But I have that gift of gab. I don't know if it's something to do with being from Jersey or just being, I don't talk, I think what it is this. I've been remote working for a while. I don't get to talk to a lot of people unless it's on my podcast. So to me, it's like, hey, I'm hanging out with friends. That's why my podcast style is kind of like, hey, we're just having a conversation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to do it. I mean, because otherwise people feel too stressed out. Like they have to stick to a script. They're only allowed to say these things. Like, you're not allowed to say certain things. And then it just gets too stressful and nobody wants to do that.
all I know is that you guys been putting out a lot of good content, and I'm glad that you guys are doing it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, we enjoy it. Like I said, we get nervous before every podcast, but we definitely enjoy it.
Let's talk about that sponsor. Let's talk about coffee. Who's your sponsor?
Invicta Coffee Co.
I put a lot of their content on my page.
They're on both of our pages. So.
More on mine.
I'm gonna be dropping that code in tonight. What's that code again?
Fight like hell.
Fight like hell.
Yeah, it's all one word. Yeah, one of their best coffees that they have right now is definitely their collaboration they did with Sisterdale, that bourbon company that I work with occasionally, and they have a bourbon pecan roast, and it's got Sisterdale bourbon in it. It's got pecan notes in it. It's a smooth coffee. You can definitely all his coffee you can actually just drink dark with no creamer.
Yeah, I can't.
It's really good.
Creamer.
You do creamer or you don't?
No, I don't. And you want to hear something fucked up? Is like when I was in the Army the first time, I don't think I drank coffee. But this was the 90s. Things were different back then. I think we did a lot of,
Oh, I guess you can all see that. Add your ad. We need your ad in there. That way we can actually reference
Mr. Dr. Jason Piccolo.
If you're following me, it's at Dr. Jason Piccolo on Instagram. I like Instagram. I think Instagram is really my only social platform that I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah, unless you're on like Court TV and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're on 100 different other things.
Yeah, you're doing a bunch of different things.
Hey, that's one thing I always tell people, and I put out that thing the other day about like, if you want to get on TV, do it. But I get I get people from high school, I get people from all over. Because I did Fox back in the day, people are always like, how do I get on Fox News? And I'm like, why? And why are you just
like you don't? They reach out to you.
I actually, and that's the thing. You know how I got on Fox News is once, remember Roseanne Barr? This is how I stopped being in the shadows all the time. Mm-hmm. I used to, my Twitter feed used to be like DHS Fed or Fed something. And Roseanne Barr was asking about the kids on the border. Remember Roseanne Barr? This is before she got canceled. Yeah. Right before she got canceled. Literally 2 weeks before she got canceled. And I say, hey, I'll tell you all about it. So her and I started direct messaging all the time. And she got me pushed out there. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to sit quiet anymore. So I actually emailed Brian Kilmeade, and he got a hold of me on July 4th.
Oh, wow.
Like on that day, he was out with his family, and he's like, you got to come on a show. So on July 6th, I did Fox. And then I did Fox like 23, 24 times. And then I started the podcast, and I was like, I don't want to do any more political shit. I just want to do this. And then I started doing all my own more words. And that's why I started doing Court TV, man, because they give me like 20, 25 minutes to talk shit about
everything.
Everything, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, like some of the best content that you can put out there are not in those like 30-second blurbs, and that's why Austin and I, and probably yourself, value the whole podcast system, because you can actually articulate yourself a little bit better and explain what you got going on versus like short segments and then commercial break.
And then you're a soundbite for the rest of your life.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, it happens with podcasts too, though. I mean, you can be a soundbite too with a podcast. Look at Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
yeah.
I just started listening I do like to have my pulse on politics because I live very close to DC and all this other shit. I started listening to Crystal and Sagar. Crystal Ball and Sagar or something.
Yeah, I know who that
Breaking
is.
Points, yeah.
Yep. They bring, both of them sit on different sides. So one of them's got Republican information that they bring forward. The other's got Democratic information that they bring forward. And they have very high level educated conversations about it without like going at each other's throats.
Yeah, I did the Hill TV once a while back, and Crystal Ball was on that. And since then they've broken off, and that's what they do now. They do this podcast, and I think they do some writing and stuff like that. But I remember her co-host at the time was Buck Sexton. Mm-hmm. And I gave this big story about being a whistleblower and everything. And at the end of it, he's like, so you're a whistleblower, like with just this sense of disgust on his face. And I was like,
because Whistleblower has a bad annotation.
yeah, it's such a bad. Well, it has like the Chelsea Manning and that other dude,
Edward
Snowden.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's talk about Arizona.
Think
about taking a trip out there, brother.
Yeah, I mean, so
do it.
We
have you seen the Grand Canyon?
I've never seen the Grand Canyon. Can you believe
have
that
we
shit?
even talked about my trip down to the bottom?
No.
I don't think we.
Let's hear about
Weekend
that.
Adventures. So let's talk about that, Rob.
Yeah, so Weekend Adventures, not last weekend, but the previous weekend before that, my service dog, myself, and a friend of mine, we did a 19.6 mile hike where we went down to, started at elevation at about 7,000 feet and went down to 2,000 feet to the Colorado River. It was a monster hike. We did over 6,000 feet in elevation descent and gain, just the way that the trail actually works out. It was pretty brutal on the way down because you're going down like pretty steep stuff. So feet hurt quite a bit, like the front of the toes like kept hitting the boots and stuff. And I think we're about 5 miles into the hike, and 7 miles is where you actually reach the bottom. I wanted to turn around because I started getting pretty nauseous, and I was looking at ALY because she wasn't doing that well. She was kind of feeling, I don't know if she was overheating or what her deal was, but I had to take off like her service vest and just hand carry it. I wasn't feeling good. My buddy wasn't feeling good. And I had this idea that we would just go to the bottom of the canyon, turn around and go back up. They call it a turn and burn. But my ranger buddy that works out here suggested that I go to the ranger station down at Phantom Ranch, which added an additional like mile and a half to go out to the ranger station. And it was the best decision that I could have done because we linked up with a ranger out there who's one of my coworkers, technically, since I work for the park out here. She brought us over to the guest house where Allie slept for like 45 minutes to an hour. We took a bunch of like electrolyte packets, started slamming extra water with electrolytes, ate some ramen, which at the time didn't sound good, but with all the sodium and carbs in it.
Oh, yeah.
Re-energized us. And then when we were all kind of level-headed, she came back and talked to us and listened. She's like, listen, I know you guys want to go back up the same way you came, but I have a different idea. She's like, it's going to add like 3 or 4 miles to your hike, but it's going to be a less aggressive approach up. And there's a little bit of cell phone coverage. And also there's a ranger station that you can stop at when you're about 4.5 miles from the top, where you can make a decision if you want to complete the hike or spend the night. So with that being said, we were all kind of feeling good. We took off. Another thing, a lot of people that listen to the podcast know that I carry an InReach, which is a SAT device that allows me to send 10-digit grid text messages to like check in with people like Austin or my girlfriend Amanda or my family and let people know how I'm doing on my hike. I can also use it for emergency purposes. That was dead, so I couldn't get that to even transmit. So it was a smarter idea to go the longer route. We ended up stopping at that ranger station, and we felt good up until that point. The ranger that was working that night actually used to be a vet tech for, I think, like 5 or 6 years. So he asked if he could check out Allie and see how she was doing. So he was like checking her pads. He was checking her hips. He was checking her back. He even like put his hands underneath her armpits to see if she was like sweating or like, overheating. And he basically said, just looking at us and her when she walked in, he was like evaluating the way she was walking. You guys look like you're all in good shape to continue on. He's like, otherwise I was going to ask you to spend the night here and go in the morning. He's like, Charlie, Mike, continue mission, essentially. And everything went fine, I think, until the very end, like probably 3 to 2 miles out. I started getting a lot of lactic acid in my right quad. I started texting Austin and Amanda because I had cell phone service saying like, I don't know if I can finish this right now. Like, I kind of feel like shit. Like my body's hurting. but Allie the entire time was just like tugging us, and Austin sent some motivational stuff. Amanda sent some motivational stuff to kind of help push through. And we completed it. It was a monster
I got to get
hike.
on this text string.
On
I got to
what?
be like, I'll send you some motivational shit. I'll be like, what's up, dude? That sucks. He's like, I'm like, what's up? I'll be like, what size shoe do you wear, man? You remember that shit? I'm looking at the pictures on your IG, man. So is the water that clear at the bottom?
Yeah. So because it's so deep in that canyon, there's a lot of sediment that gets stirred up by the Colorado River that rushes through there. And what it does is it changes around the year depending on like soil temperature and a couple other things, and how fast the river's moving. It'll actually agitate that river to change it to that like either green or turquoise color.
I can't believe I've never been there.
Oh yeah, and that's like a hardcore hike. Like if you came out here, I would suggest that we'd
No, we're not
overnight.
doing hardcore. Listen,
Okay.
This is Jason Piccolo. I think I mentioned before that I'm closer to 50 than I am 40 now. A lot closer to 50, like 280 days. Let's take a look at that. Because the reason I keep count of this because I am retiring from the federal government in 286 days. But yeah, man, I want to do like someone to hang out. And you had some bottles of whiskey there. I'll probably drink beer. I'm not drinking the hard stuff anymore. So that's gonna add some weight to my pack. So we're not filling Allie up with a backpack. So this is me carrying it. So I think we're going to be doing like little day trips here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we can easily go a mile or two down, and the view, honestly, from the top is so incredible. I'm sure you see the stuff I put on my stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot to do out here. I would love to have you out here. We could maybe do an in-person podcast too.
You know what we'll do is we'll shoot some guns and drive around and hang out. Podcasting, we'll do the podcast here. Not everything has to be content. And that's one thing I always tell people. I was always like, I gotta post. If people are getting into this game and we're gonna get back into the learning something new thing, and I'm just learning from experience, is like, I preload content now, and it's so easy to preload content. And I tell you what, if I didn't have a podcast and I wasn't doing everything that I do, I probably wouldn't even be on IG or anything. I'd just be like stalking people, like, what's Rob doing this week? But no, you really do need a social media presence. I tell this especially to authors, is because authors, a lot of times they want to get their message out. They may not want to make money, but they want to get their message out there. And really, social media is the only way to do it. You could do email lists and everything. And that's one thing else I'd recommend is like a blog or something else like that. But get your message out there, man. And that's one of the reasons I like. So I am fortunate enough to do this Corp TV thing. And on my splash screen at the end of it, about 2 months ago, I had them like, add that I am the host of the Protectors podcast. And I've seen my views go up. Not my views, my downloads. A lot since I do that. So I mean,
people
it's like
know where to find you now.
Yeah. Because you can say it verbally, but unless people, like, for some reason people read it, they're like, oh.
Well, yeah, and that's why we were like add the at for yours.
Yeah,
because
and
we're on video now for Spotify. Like this is going to show up as a video.
So now you can teach me something. How do you upload video to Spotify?
Anchor. I use Anchor.
Okay, I wonder if I could do that. Huh?
Because what are you using?
I'm using Buzzsprout.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything on there for video.
Well, I mean, Anchor is by Spotify, so that's probably why.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and one thing I do is I do the Amazon Fire TV and Roku and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anchor's by Spotify, so it's the same. So it's easy for them to probably do it.
I might have to just bite the bullet and do both.
I mean, you're getting out there a little bit more, and to be completely honest, most of our downloads either come from Apple or they come from Spotify. And now that we got the beta version for video, they offered that to us after we completed our first year with uploading to Spotify. So it's pretty cool because, I mean, like the pod godfather, like has a video, and now our little tiny podcast actually has a video too. So it's kind of strange.
I mean, because we were uploading to YouTube, but I mean,
YouTube sucks,
it got very small.
Yeah, I'm getting I make $5 off of YouTube. But the Vimeo, so uploading to Vimeo gets me to Roku and Amazon Fire, and that's about 100,000 views a month.
That's insane. That's
compared
awesome.
to the bullshit on YouTube's like, I
I
look on YouTube, like 15 people watched. I do like doing YouTube lives, just because then I could download that into a show later on.
Right.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of those with you in the past. That's how we all started, like, kind of podcasting together. It was back in the day when we'd have Carla, Austin, myself, and you, and we'd have like a segment that we would take down.
I've been doing this movie one. So everybody out there, I have a show called Protagonist, Antagonist, and what we do is we talk about like 80s and 90s and 70s movies. We did Rambo, Platoon, Point Break. We're trying to figure out what episode we're going to do this week, but it's live. We did Red Dawn.
No, God.
I know, but I love that show, man. I just sit here and I drink some beer and I talk about movies.
Right.
And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to shoot guns, talk about movies, teach college.
I know how I saw you did a weapons course.
Oh yeah, tactical lever action.
How'd that go?
It went pretty good, man. I'm starting to teach on the side too. So I taught my kids and a couple other friends this week basic gun safety, like because I'm an NRA instructor. This weekend I'm teaching basic pistol. But one thing I do want to say is like I don't sell fear, and that's why I probably hover around 5,000 or 6,000 followers, because I will not sell fear.
Right.
And so when I do these basic courses, it's for people who haven't shot before, and are people who want to try something new.
Yeah.
So I'll teach like, okay, this is a gun, this is a bullet, this is a cartridge, this is a primer, and then I'll
just teach them, not to scare them into,
I don't believe into that shit, because so many people are profiting off other people's fear, and it just drives
100%. I mean, that's 90% of America, though, unfortunately.
And I keep winning fucking, and about social medias, I keep winning all these iPhone 13s, but
right?
What is up?
Right? I've been getting so many of those comments.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous. I get like one a day.
Promote on Military Blaze and win an iPhone 13.
Right?
Or the one that I get constantly in DMs is send me like your Cash App and I'll send you $900 or something like that.
Only to certain followers. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Or comments on like I have different cryptocurrency investments right now, and I made a post about something that went up like 800% overnight, and immediately like someone who's already DM'd me like 3 times DM me again. They have like 40 followers, 0 posts. They're following like 400 people, and it's like, I see you made money on Safe Moon today. Send me your Cash App or Venmo hashtag. I'll send you money, and then I can teach you how to mine for coins. Like, I'm good, dude.
I always get the Forex trader, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right?
Yeah. No, there's so much like bullshit to shift through with Instagram, and I think luckily all 3 of us have been on it long enough to understand like what's real, what's not. But I also wonder how many people actually get got on those.
Oh, I'm sure there's quite a few people that actually fall for it, unfortunately.
So a couple months, about 3 months ago, some detective out of North Carolina, or some really, really backwoods police department, goes, "Is this Jason Piccolo?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Because someone's out here using your driver's license, and some lady gave him $15,000, and I'm like, "What?" He goes, "And he's got pictures of your kids." I'm like, "Oh shit!" That because I took all my kids off all my social media.
Yeah, no, that's where it crosses the line.
And when he said that, I'm like, "Well, send me pictures now." And he sends me pictures. He's like random kids that are like 20 years old. But this guy made a fake driver's license with my name and everything on it. And but these kids weren't mine, so I was like, whatever. I'm like, this shit happens all the time.
Right. As long as they're not your actual kids, then you don't care.
Yeah. And Jason, tell us like a little bit more about maybe your book writing and some of the people that you like to bring on your podcast. That way, if anyone's interested, they might actually jump over to your channels and check out your podcast.
Speaking of book writing, what are you doing on what is it, Wednesday, Rob?
What am I doing
with Jason?
Huh?
Going on Jason with who?
Wait, that's not for a while.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought
that's
it was
in May.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I started shit talking to Austin about that.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna
and
get
speaking of that,
podcast.
we so Jack Carr's been on a show I think 5 or 6 times now.
Yeah,
that's so
and
fucking cool.
I actually when Chris Pratt came out and said that they're gonna have the terminal list, I'm like, I DM Jack, I'm like, bro, I'm like, let me get the first interview with you. So I'm working downtown DC. I take my phone, I go do a Zoom call with him on the mall. So I'm like trying to find somewhere where I could be like, because I can't do it during work hours. I put in for leave real quick. I ran out to the mall and I did like a 5-minute interview with Jack talking about, I'm like, Jack, you just won the Super Bowl. You're going to Disneyland. Because basically getting Chris Pratt to do your movie is like
100%.
Yeah, so it was like crazy. So then
when's that coming out?
I think this summer, right?
Is it?
You would think by now. Like he put out a movie on Amazon that at first I thought it was gonna be about it, but it wasn't it.
Yeah, it was that
July 1st, 2022.
There we go. I'm about to
shit.
try to finagle it something premiere.
Yeah, because you and I talked the other day. I'm a big fan of his books. Like he's probably one of the only authors that I've actually listened to every single book that he's released recently. Listened to all of his stuff from the Terminal List forward, and I don't know, like he writes CIA stuff that is equivalent to what you would see in like either Jack Bauer meets was it Jason Bourne?
Like, yeah,
it's just wild shit.
Well,
so cool.
As soon as we're don't hang up on me. As soon as we get off here, I'll tell you a really cool Jack Carr story about the agency and stuff like that. But yeah, I've had Jack on a ton of best-selling authors that are thriller genre, from military and police type thrillers. Brad Taylor, Brad Thor, Don Bentley, Andrew Wilson, everybody else. I talk to a lot of authors, but then I'd like to talk to just normal people. If you've served, you support, protectors, Medal of Honor winners have been on, or recipients. Everybody you can imagine, man. I'm about 360, 350 shows now.
Jeez.
That's so cool.
And then, it's gone great, man. We're top 1% in the world now, out of 2.6 million. So if you're a podcaster, go to Listen Notes, and you can always check your how you're doing in the podcast world. So yeah, it's been taking off.
Bottom 1%.
I bet you're at the top 1%. We're probably at the bottom or somewhere in the middle.
No, hey, you know what? When you have 300 episodes, you guys are gonna be 0.5, so you'll be a lot better.
Well, we'll get there. We're learning. It's been a major learning curve, and then on top of that, Austin and I have had to learn how to not step on each other when we're talking. Austin's
top
pretty
10%.
Good.
There you go.
Yeah, we're in the top 10%. It says.
Holy shit! No way.
I just looked it up.
We're the top 10% podcast in the world.
Yeah, because you got to remember, like, there's 2.6 million.
That's crazy.
And as long as you stick it out, I bet you guys will be like in another year, 6 months, it'll be top 5% at least.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. We love the fact that people actually write into us or message us or text us, and they'll send us random quotes. Actually, that brings me to the next topic.
Before we go there, let me give you a quick thing of advice.
Yes.
So you guys use StreamYard, and this is for everybody else. I mean, this is like a random conversation, but if you don't want to talk over each other, Austin will go on mute and you'll go on mute at the same time. Whoever wants to ask a question will come off mute. The other person will see it and will be like, okay, I know to shut up.
Okay, so run that by my.
So right now, if you wanted that, right now, you guys would both be on mute. And because you just asked me a question, you would come off of mute, and then Austin will be able to see that, and then he knows not to step over you.
Okay.
So right now, Austin, and then you're not going to get any background noise. You're not going to get anything else.
Okay, and then when Austin wants to transition and ask you.
Exactly. Now, right now, both of you are on mute, and I can just talk to myself.
Yeah.
There we go.
Talk to yourself.
No, but then that's an easy way I do, because I like to have co-hosts. So then I like to, unless I don't get the chance to tell them, a lot of times I'm like, look, when I come off of mute, or if I'm muted, feel free to jump in. Especially because then you guys are legitimate co-hosts. So me, I bring in guest hosts, and a lot of times they don't understand when they should ask questions.
Right.
All right. So let's run with this. Let's actually see how this works, because we're experimenting with this. So
It's your first time.
When we were talking about listeners, one of the keynotes that I wanted to actually talk about that I found hilarious is my boss. I'm decently up in the food chain when it comes to the Grand Canyon. I have a pretty sought after position out here, I guess. And I found out the other day, probably last week, my boss actually started listening to the podcast.
Oh, shit.
And we shit talk and we are drunk half the time on the podcast. I say some of the most outlandish shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, like, every single episode I've done, I'm like, I don't think I've ever talked shit about my boss or my coworkers. I'm pretty sure I've only said good things. But it's funny because now, like, I'll get random quotes especially from ATI. He'll bring up something about, like, so you would suck someone's dick? I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you said on episode, he started way back. He's on like episode 11. Yeah, it's wild. You have no idea who your listeners are, and then sometimes they surprise you.
Oh, believe me, I know. I get some rant. Yeah, it's different. It's very different. Because I know a lot of times my supervisor will listen, but he's a good dude. And but I can imagine some of those people I used to work with listening to me. Some of them, like, as long as you're not in management, a lot of them are probably like, huh. But yeah, it's interesting to be, and that's one thing about being podcaster, is being in the open so much. Like what we're saying now, like, because let's say I want to run for office someday. Everybody, like, how many times I've been on shows and everything else, like, looking for sound bites. Yeah, and you guys.
Well, yeah, with yours though, and we catered our ATI a little bit differently because we take into consideration who our guest is. Yeah, I would say your podcast is a lot more professional than ours, whereas we kind of just randomly go. Austin, go ahead and explain our podcast a little.
Now I mean, your podcast. I know what you mean.
For example, last episode was a complete train wreck with Rob. He was shit faced by like 20 minutes into the episode.
Oh my gosh. That's like my protagonist show. I'll sit here with all these beers and I'll be like, let's go. Let's talk about Red Dawn. When that Russian shot the kids at the end, what did you think about that? And I'm like, in Platoon, I'm over here like rambling. I'm like, I think now, looking back, we did not fight the enemy. We fought ourselves, and the enemy was in us. I feel like I was born of two fathers. Like, I'll give the whole Charlie Sheen speeches and shit. But you gotta do, like, I love movies, man. I'm like an internet movie database.
Yeah, and I mean, you love movies, and alcohol just go together,
They do.
What's your favorite movie, Jason?
Heat.
Heat, really? The original one?
The original Heat.
The original Heat's
but
good.
there is a Heat with Burt Reynolds, but no, not Burt Reynolds Heat. The one with the original 1990s Heat. Michael Mann's like my.
You like the Heat with the two women, right?
Yeah, Chained Heat. Nah, Heat, and I love Platoon. There's so many. I love movies, man.
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket's good. So how you liking this mute thing? Like, Rob's gonna jump up?
It's interesting. I think it's messing us up slightly.
A little bit, yeah.
At the same time, it's a lot easier to not step on each other as co-hosts because our conversations.
Fuck you, Rob.
There you go.
There you go. But it's weird because when you actually go and listen to it live, the conversations work, even though people might be talking at the same time. I don't know if you've ever gone and like re-listened to your episodes.
Yeah, once in a while.
Okay.
And I can't believe it's me. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm like, that's me.
Yeah. And
I change my voice all the
noticed,
time.
yeah, I've noticed too that you like there's sometimes if people are stepping on each other, you hear stuff that you didn't hear in the actual podcast. You're like, oh shit, Austin was trying to say this, or Jason was trying to say this.
But I've had like sometimes I'll listen to it, I'm like, man, I can't believe I had that person on the show. And you're like, how the fuck did I get here? You know, it's like weird.
Yeah, and especially with me and Rob, because like I said, we're 53 episodes in, and then especially like every time me and Rob are done, like he calls me and then we talk about like the guests we had on and how the show went, and you know, we just kind of discuss how we think it went and how the guest was.
I like it, man. I did. Speaking of vigilant and humble and everything else, I did get the March for Miles shirt. I didn't march shit. I just started going back to the gym today. And
okay. Hey, at least you supported. That's
but the shirt's great, man. I love it. Good shirt. I got my vigilant and humble shirt. And oh, by the way, everybody out there, I don't get free shit from these guys. It'd be nice. I mean, Explosive Apparel out in the UK sends me free shit all the time. And I love those guys. So big shout out to them, explosiveapparel.com. And I'm wearing their Warhog for Rick Hogg's dog, War Dog Duco. So you guys have to have him on, man. He's a good dude. Dream guest. Let me throw this out. Who besides Jack Carr, who is your dream guest? Both of you have to agree on it.
Probably Chris Pratt or it's a dude I can't. Ryan Reynolds probably.
I mean, so seriously, I'd love to have someone like Jocko or like David Goggins on, just as it's inspirational, as they are. I mean, I think that they'd be really good to have
on. Out of my guest list, who would you like to have on besides Jack Carr?
I'd have to go through your entire guest list. I have no idea.
300.
Jack Carr.
Jack Carr. I have no idea. I'd have to go look at all your guest lists.
You gotta get. Have you guys had Michelle Black on yet?
I have no idea who that is.
No. Gold Star wife. She's awesome. She's up in Oregon. No, she's up in she Oregon or Washington. Her husband was a Green Beret killed in that ODA in Niger.
Oh wow!
Great book called Sacrifice. The only book in years that I literally sat on my couch around 10 a.m. and finished that night. Like a real bona fide book, too.
Or another person I like to have on is who is the Navy SEAL that got captured? That was captured for a long time.
Oh, Luttrell, Marcus Luttrell?
No, he was like he was in jail for a long time, and then he got out. It was a big, huge controversy.
I think he was on Rogan.
Eddie Gallagher?
Yeah, Eddie Gallagher, yeah.
No comment. Hey, the other one is Ryan Hendrickson. I think Ryan. I had Tip of the Spear. Ryan Hendrickson's a good guest too.
Okay.
Well, if you want to line us up with any people that you think fit our format and are okay with being kind of loose and wouldn't get in trouble for saying wild shit.
If they're okay with cuss words, I mean, I know they're veterans, but I mean,
yeah, I don't know. It's cuss words it's part of the English language.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can start speaking Spanish. Puto.
No idea. We'll just have to learn Arabic for our next episode.
Oh shit! Who are you gonna have on?
No idea.
One of my interpreters, probably.
Oh my god. Okay, so let me ask you guys another question.
Is this our podcast or yours?
I don't know.
I feel like we're the guest.
No, the next thing we actually want to talk about, Rob, is your Starlink experience.
Oh yeah, Starlink. I want to hear about this.
Okay, so currently it is really shitty out, yet Starlink is working really well. It's a company that Elon Musk owns. It's a satellite dish service, and I was on a wait list for a very long time. The long story short was,
Rob.
Yeah, that was a fucked up experience.
The
long story short was I got my confirmation email. So did a bunch of people out at the park. We all put in for it last year. February, they started releasing dishes to people. I got super excited because I got my confirmation email. There's a fucking button on the email that says click here to confirm. And I was just like, confirmation email, I'm good. So I didn't click there. Everyone else started getting like shipment notifications, and I'm not getting any shipment notifications. I go into my Starlink, they canceled it. So I don't know if I should admit this on the podcast or not, because my boss does listen. I had some contacts that were able to help me get back in line, because the National Park Services is actually working with Starlink to do government satellites for out here. So I was pretty much told that I wasn't going to get Starlink until sometime late 2023. And I was able to get back in line, and I got it a couple weeks ago, like a week and a half ago. Got it up. It's on my roof right now. It's been a super cool experience. I went from using a little jetpack that I would get maybe anywhere from no signal to 40 megabytes down to now I get ranges of the low end. I've seen 30 megabytes one time, the high end 180 megabytes. It's awesome, and it's unlimited band or unlimited data, whereas the other jetpack I was getting 150 gigs. So when it come time to podcast, we were constantly worried that I was going to run out of data and we weren't going to be able to even do the podcast, or like I would have to use my phone instead of our other setup. It was obnoxious, but we got past it. And this is the first episode with using Starlink.
Yeah, you sound like you're in the next room. What is it? How big is the satellite? Like, what is it? What does the dish look like?
Probably about like that big, maybe like 12 inches across, something like that.
Can you put it on yourself?
Yeah, you install it yourself. Here, I'll bring up something. Or Austin, do you want to bring it up? Or
yeah, I'll bring something up.
Okay. Yeah, they're pretty small. They're really cool. Once you plug it in, it immediately starts moving around and situating itself. It's all electronic. It'll start articulating to the best angle possible for the satellites in that area. It also has a heat element built into it. So if the temperature drops below freezing and it feels any type of weight on it, it automatically assumes that there's snow on it, and the dish will start heating up to melt snow off of it, which is pretty cool.
That is cool as shit.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Did you get the implant yet?
The what?
Implant? Don't you have to put?
I'm going to eventually. His Neuralink.
That's next.
Yeah.
So it looks like they have two different options actually.
I have the one on the right.
Yeah, you have the rectangle.
Yeah, there's a rectangle and a circle one. Yeah, 23.2 inches.
Yeah. So yeah, it's 19 by 12 is the one Rob has.
So, very interesting.
And
Starlink.
And it's like what, $100 a month, Rob?
So it was $100 a month. They just sent out emails to everyone saying that they're going up to $119 a month, but I'm still good with it.
Yeah, as much as I pay for bullshit cable that just every time anything happens it dies.
I don't pay for cable. I refuse.
No, not cable. I mean internet. I don't get cable. I stream
internet.
everything anymore.
Oh, okay.
And we have like a shitty storm going on right now, and it seems to be working fine. Like I've been able to do this entire podcast so far without this stupid cat. Have you ever seen that with your guest, the cat?
No.
It's when look, there's Allie. It's when your video cuts out. Austin, you want to go over March for Miles, and then
well, actually, I was going to jump in. I was just going to jump into Jason's the mental health and stuff.
Oh yeah. I almost skipped that. My bad. You co-host. I'm going to shut up for a minute.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about your mental health, and basically in the past year, what have you done? What have you been doing for your mental health and fitness and your whole?
Well, my fitness is kind of let's talk about testosterone, man. So that's one thing I found out over the past year was my testosterone normal levels. I guess are supposed to be 300 to 800. Oh, and mine is 200. So I go in and get checked, and they find an abnormality in her. They're like, okay, you got to go to this cancer research center. And I go in there, and Madeleine Albright is in there getting in her infusions or something, getting her cancer checkup.
I don't know who that is.
She just died. She was a former Secretary of State.
Oh, okay.
And she was in there with her protection detail and everything else. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience to have, first a cancer scare, and then, well, first testosterone being like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, knowing that. So, in the past year, I've cut out hard alcohol. I go to the gym, I lift a lot, and I'm trying to naturally boost my testosterone by lifting heavier weights. So I'm picking things up and putting them down. And yeah, man, it's just trying to keep positive. I'm doing this thing called Road to 50. So this is like I started at like 300 days in. So I'm trying to just impart any knowledge I have that I've learned over the past 49 plus years. I can't really say when I was a baby.
You're gonna be doing TRT?
Yeah, I'm looking into that now. My insurance won't cover it though.
Of course.
So I'm looking at other methods to.
It's not, because it's not cheap.
No, they're like, one of the places was like $40 a week or $50 a week.
No.
I'm like, I could swing it, but it's like,
I mean,
I'm paying all this money for insurance. It's like,
it's so worth it though. Like I've heard so many stories about it, like especially like veterans and guys who have been in combat, go through so many, have low test and then get TRT and bounce right back.
There we go. So let's talk about you, Austin.
Yes.
Vigilant and humble. What's the next step?
I have no idea. Right now, I'm actually currently focused. I have a sticker company I've been running that I've been super busy with.
Now, you doing custom stickers?
I do I do everything.
Oh my gosh, how do I not know about this?
Because you don't follow us closely enough, I guess.
I follow you closely enough. Yeah, I definitely need some awesome protector stickers. I am so horrible when it comes to graphics. I could do Canva and stuff, but I don't know how to do like good shit.
Yeah, I mean, just your logo behind you would be a cool sticker.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can make something happen though.
Let's do it. Rob, I think Rob needs to have a travel channel. I follow these like two couples on YouTube, and all I do is just travel. And you're doing great with your content, man. I love it.
If Rob could get paid to travel, he would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought, like, I'm actually wearing it. I've been doing outdoor shit for probably like 12 or 14 years, and I've wanted to upgrade my outdoor gear to Arc'teryx for a very long time. And now that I'm pretty high up in the federal system and doing decent pay wise, I could finally afford
Arc'teryx.
Yeah, Arc'teryx.
Tell me about this Arc'teryx.
Arc'teryx is hands down the most expensive clothing line out there, but they do a lot of things for performance. So like this is like their mid layer, and I can wear it in temperatures of like 60, 70 degrees and it'll still breathe well, but I can also wear it when it's like, I don't know, 20, 23 degrees, and they make shells and stuff to go over it to cut out the wind, but it also
they're a Canadian climbing gear and clothing company.
They're the most expensive, but they're one of the highest rated companies, and a lot of people wear them as like fashion statements, like to like show wealth, I guess. But their gear is top notch. They have a lot of mountaineering stuff. It's stuff I've been looking at for years and wanted to buy, and always like, I could save like maybe $100 or $200 on this jacket and just go with a really competitive brand. But so far, like their jackets of the midweight series, I've owned 3 or 4 different types of midweight ones, and they usually fall apart after a couple of years. And
that's the thing is, it's better off to spend the money now. It's like it's almost like an investment, and you can always sell it later on. You'd be surprised. Like, let's say you didn't like it in like 6 months, you sell it, people will actually buy it. It's crazy out there.
So far, I love it, and I got it through REI, so I didn't get a discount, but REI's got a great program where you can pretty much try any of their gear up to a year, which a lot of people abuse the shit out of that. But generally, like, I know if I'm going to like whatever gear I'm buying, whether it's a climbing axe to a jacket, pants, shoes, or whatever. I figure it out usually on my first couple of hikes. And then if it's not working for me for style, and not necessarily style, but fit, comfort, does it perform well in the outdoors, I'll make a decision whether I'm going to keep it or get rid of it and bring it back clean as possible. Because a lot of people will wait till that year, trash the shit out of something, and then bring it back. Like, oh, I can return this still. That's kind of fucked up.
I do have to give REI a lot of props, is because I don't even know when I joined. If it's been like when you join that REI program, it's like a lifetime thing. And my daughter was like, she's going camping soon. She went to buy a couple of tarps and a bunch of other shit over the weekend. But it's like, it keeps following you forever. As long as you give them your phone number, it's crazy.
Yeah, REI is great though. So let's talk about this is the last week for our March for Miles challenge. So we're gonna, this is our last week. The last turn in is gonna be Wednesday night, so we can have a final leaderboard out on Thursday.
What's the top of the leaderboard right now?
An ultra runner that has like 160 miles.
I'm fucking it. Tomorrow. When is it? Wednesday? I'm dropping. I'm just don't even contact me for the next few days. I got you.
And then so the winners will be announced on our next podcast, which will be the 6th, where we're gonna have Sister Dale Distilling on.
And why don't you announce the top 3? Go ahead and talk about the top 3.
Well, Rob's number 4 right now.
No, I'm actually 3rd, I thought.
Well, you don't count, so
yeah, I don't think you should win.
No, I can't. I can't win. We made that decision at the beginning, but I'm in the hundreds, like low hundreds. I think I'm at 107 miles.
Damn.
But yeah, so like I said, we're gonna announce the winners on next podcast when we have Sister Dale, Chad on, who is a friend and a giveaway winner. So
Sister Dale, are they in IG as well?
They are. It's Sister Dale Distilling.
Sister Dale.
They are out of Sister Dale, Texas.
Gotta follow them. 8-time award-winning Texas Craft Distillery, named 2021 Best Micro Distillery. You must be 21 to follow.
Yeah, they're. I'm not a bourbon drinker, but I tried their bourbon, and it's super smooth. It doesn't have like a burn like most bourbons do.
Very interesting.
So they were actually labeled one of the best bourbons by Forbes.
Very cool, man.
So Rob left to go let his doggy out.
There we go.
So
he says, "Gotta let Allie out. Be right back. BRB."
Yeah, he ran away. Got to take care of his doggy.
So if you're not following the Protectors podcast, make sure you head over and follow the only trademarked Protectors podcast, because there is.
Yeah. Did you ever hear from them, or had that?
I did. They hired an attorney, and they're attacking me and all sorts of other shit. So I'm just taking it nice and slow. Doing my thing.
Bullshit.
I have my trademark in, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, if you have your trademark in, then is it still pending?
Yeah, it's still pending. So
so and those take forever.
It's almost like getting my suppressor. It takes forever.
Right. Well, I mean, unless you live in Texas.
That is true.
Unless you live if they're Texas made, then you don't have to go through any paperwork.
Really?
Yeah, if you live in Texas and they're made in Texas, you don't have it's zero paperwork required.
Must be nice.
Right? Yeah, it's the only state that allows suppressors that you don't have to do any paperwork is Texas, as long as they're made in Texas.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. This was fun.
Yeah, of course, man.
I think the one last thing, right?
About, well, technically we have 2. I mean, the next thing we want to talk about is the trending news that happened last night.
I did. I saw it. The slap heard around the world.
Yeah. Oh, that was crazy.
Yeah, listen here. I've been in law enforcement for fucking 22 years.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's if you rolled up and you're a cop and you saw someone slap another dude, you would hook him up.
Right.
If anything, and people are jumping out here saying, and I have a lot of cops who have been putting out content saying, hey, look, he's saying love makes you do crazy things. And that's the
Yeah.
typical response from someone who's an
100%.
abuser.
Yeah.
So you can't just slap a dude. And granted, everybody's like, oh, he's just protecting his, his wife's whatever. Well, from what the common perception is, they have an open relationship. And yeah, granted, he's feeling shitty because he has an open relationship. But that dude has some serious issues to jump up on stage and whack Chris Rock like that.
Yeah, I mean, he has a broken, he has a broken house, broken marriage and everything. And he's just, he's broken.
Yeah, but the reality is, regardless of race, creed, national region, or whatever, if you whack a dude, it's assault. And they should have booted him right out of there.
Completely uncalled for. Like
They
it was a lighthearted joke. Like it's not like he meant anything offensive by it. It was a lighthearted joke. What are your thoughts?
Rob? She had alopecia. I doubt it. And the other thing too is like they should have kicked him out of there, and they should at least take his whatever that shit is away from him.
Well, I don't know. My thoughts on it were, he's a stand-up comic. There's a lot of routes he could have went to fuck with Will Smith, basically. The whole open relationship thing, and her, like a year and a half ago, I think she was all over the news about what was it called? Having an entanglement where she slept with Jada Pinkett's friend, who was like 24, in between 24 and 27 years old, as like a lady in her 50s or early 60s is sleeping with a child. If it was vice versa, Will would have been pretty much not technically a pedophile, but it would have been super fucked up that he's sleeping with one of his son's friends' age. But instead, like, they wanted to embrace her as like this powerful woman who needs to, express her sexual feelings and be out there and doing things. So there's a bunch of routes he could have went to make fun of him. And he did the whole entire G.I. Jane joke, and to go up there on stage and smack the shit out of him when the entire world has been talking shit about Will Smith for the past like 2-3 years. Kind of ridiculous.
Like the entire world.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now the whole thing was just like, at first, and why we're giving it time, I don't even know. But I'm entranced with it. I'm like, I'm watching it all over the place, and I'm just like, God, being in law enforcement and seeing them get away with this, and the people sticking up for it, though. That's the thing. Is like, if this was anybody, this whole Hollywood thing.
Yeah, it's because it's it's because of who they are. It's the only reason that it's, like you said, Jason. If it was some random guy in the street, then he'd be locked up immediately.
He probably would have been tased on his way up to the stage.
Yeah, So okay. Well, we have one last thing to get into. We got 3 would you rather's.
Hold on. Before we go, the new Reacher show.
So I have watched the first episode of it, and that's it.
Okay, watch it.
It's really good, though.
It is. Okay. What's this? Would I rather? No.
Would you rather? We have 3 questions for you.
ATI.
They're not fucked up. These ones aren't. Hey, Rob, you read the first one, Rob.
Okay. Would you rather always have to eat alone or always have to sleep alone?
Eat alone. I don't like eating with people. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Austin?
I mean, I'm gonna go the same thing just because I don't want to sleep alone.
I sleep alone all the time.
I'd rather just, tell you the truth, I'd rather just sleep alone and eat alone, but that's just me.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Whoa. That just became a soundbite.
Yeah, send it to his wife.
Yeah. Oh, I snore. Nobody wants to sleep with this.
No, I would eat alone as well to be able to.
And you don't sleep alone, Rob. You got Allie.
This is true, but I would love to be sleeping next to Amanda instead
of this weekend. Okay.
I will be. This is true. I get to see her soon. All right, next question. What do you got, Austin?
Would you rather always have heartburn or have to burp?
Oh shit, probably heartburn because burping is just nasty as shit. Every time I burp, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, heartburn is the worst thing ever.
Ugh.
I hate heartburn with a passion.
That's
so
a shitty question, you know that.
I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah,
That's supposed to be easy.
These are lighthearted ones. You should hear
I'm
some of the
sure.
shit we've
I'm
asked.
sure.
I'm gonna go with have to burp because I hate heartburn so much.
So one thing I'll give Austin credit for on this is I'm going to go heartburn, but I'm going to expand on this a little bit. Austin annoys the fuck out of me when we have like normal conversations because he belches and he doesn't say excuse me, and it bothers me a lot. And he purposely does it, I think, at this point. However, he never does it on the podcast. Like he'll mute himself if he has to burp, and I'm assuming that our guests appreciate it.
Yeah. That's so just a professional thing.
Yeah. All right. Last question, and then we'll let you get out of here because we know it's past your bedtime out there, Jason. Would you rather eat an onion like an apple or eat a whole head of garlic?
Whole head of garlic.
Ooh.
I think when you're an Italian, you have to just eat garlic anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I love garlic, but I don't know if I could eat that much garlic.
I would go garlic as well.
Really? I'm gonna go with the onion.
You're crazy. Okay. Well, that wraps us up. Do you have anything that you want to plug before we let you go and I wrap us up?
Jason? Just check out the Protectors. Follow me on Instagram. We'll talk shit.
Okay. Well, we love you. Austin, you got anything?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay. I'll close this out and then we'll stick around for a second or two for our pictures and bullshit with you about Jack Carr, if you'll stay awake.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
I need another beer. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, I'll wrap us up. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for the Fight Like Hell podcast. As you guys know, Spotify just recently added ratings. Some of you have already rated us. A lot of you have not. And we know that there's a lot of listeners because we can see that you're listening. So please throw us a 5-star or whatever you actually think about the podcast. Just please throw us 5 stars. You'll really fuck up the algorithm if you give us a low rating. But that's it for now. This was episode 53 with Dr. Jason Piccolo. We love you guys. Peace.